Here's the full guide to creating a Travis Scott type beat on FL Studio. I'm going to break everything down in granular detail so you have all of the knowledge you need to make beats just like this. I'm not going to waste any time in this video, so we're going to jump straight into things. These beats are typically around the 140 BPM mark, so we're going to increase the tempo up here. We're now going to open up the channel rack and load up the Analog Lab plugin. I'm going to select a synth preset, turn the brightness down, which filters out the high-end frequencies, and create a chord progression. Since Travis Scott's beats have dark, eerie vibes, we'll be using a minor scale for this beat. The C# minor scale to be exact. For those of you who don't know music theory, we can click up here, go to View, Scale Highlighting, and change this to C# minor. This will now show us exactly what notes are in this scale. For these type of chord progressions, you typically want to start on the root, so C#, and then draw in the minor chord, which would be the root, third, and fifth notes in the scale. I then also added the root up here, and down here for bass notes. We're then going to create 3 more chords by playing around with the notes in the C# minor scale. We then duplicate this chord progression across to the next 4 bars, but transpose some of the notes up octaves to add variation. Now we've got the chord progression down, it's time to really bring this melody to life. With all my melodies, I use the strum functionality to add imperfections to the chords, which makes them sound less robotic. You can do this by clicking on the wrench tool up here and then clicking strum and adjusting this time knob here. I also use the randomize functionality to adjust the velocity and volume of the notes to again make them sound less robotic by clicking up here and then clicking randomize. It's important to not overdo it with these effects. A subtle difference can go a long way. Here's how this melody will sound. We now need to add other components to the melody to make it sound more interesting. So I've taken another Analog Lab preset, but this time it's slightly brighter than the previous sound. We can see this by comparing the frequency spectrums. We now want to add a counter melody. For this, we'll take a pad, lead or synth preset and lay down a melody in the C# minor scale that does not consist of chords. Here's what I came up with. I then repeated this with another sound. And here's how the combined melody will sound. At this point, you'll notice the melody is completely lacking low end, also known as bass frequencies, so we'll need to add a bass line. Before we do this, it's vital that we do not have any sub-bass frequencies in the melody that could clash with the bass line and make it sound muddy. So we'll add an EQ to all melodic components, use this preset here, and drag the high pass filter to 100 Hz. Now let's get the bass line down. The bass lines on Travis Scott's tracks stand out because they feature crazy synth bass sounds, rather than the standard 808s that you're used to hearing in the majority of tracks. So I'll be using 2 different synth basses from Omnisphere. This first bass line is more aggressive sounding, which occupies more of the frequency spectrum. This will be used for the intro of the track where the drums aren't playing. The second bass line has more sub-frequencies and less high-end, so we'll use this when the drums are added in the track. For the notes used, we use the same MIDI pattern for both bass lines and typically start at the root and work our way up the scale to add energy and build up. Here's how this sounds with the melody and sub-bass added. Now it's time for the drums. This is the most important part of a Travis Scott beat. If you don't believe me, then listen to the man himself.
When you are mixing a sound, what is the most long
drums.
to take? The drums?
The drums. I don't give a f about nothing else. You hear me? Nothing, bro. Nothing. I don't care.
It's all about the drums.
The drums, bro. Don't f up the drums. You can do everything but f up. Just don't f up the drums.
So it's essential that we start with hard-hitting drum sounds. So I've taken my favourite sounds from my new enchanted drum kit, which is linked in the description of this video if you want access to these. For the drum pattern, we'll start by laying down the snare on the 3rd and 7th beat. This is standard for all hip hop tracks, not just Travis Scott's. You can also add accent snares to add bounce, so I've added another snare for this. Then we're going to add the kick. We want this to really knock, so we're going to crank up the volume for this and add a soft clipper on the master track. The soft clipper adds a distorted effect to the beat when the volume is above 0 decibels, which is common in newer trap songs. This next part is vital and is often overlooked by producers. Here you'll see that kicks and bass lines occupy similar low-end bass frequencies. Playing the kick and bass line at the same time means that these frequencies clash and sound muddy, so we need to use a technique called sidechaining. Essentially, this cuts the volume of the bass line when the kick hits. Here I've used a kickstart plugin for this. Finally, we're going to add our hats. We'll take a simple 2-step hi-hat pattern with a few rolls. And an open hat. Now that we have the components of the beat down, we need to structure the track. A few of Travis Scott's tracks have half-timed intros, so I loaded the gross beat on the master track, set it to the half-time preset, and rendered the melody out. This gave me this intro. We can also automate a filter on the master track to add an underwater effect, which is common on a few of Travis's tracks. Here we simply have to load an EQ to the master, select this preset, and right click here to create an automation clip. We can then adjust the high and low pass filter frequencies here. This is how this will sound. After the intro, we're going to slowly add melodic elements into the track. We'll keep the drums playing throughout the majority of this section, occasionally cutting them out for variation in the beat. Finally, I've added sweeps for build up and tension. Oh, and I added this new 808 section with one of the 808s in my kit because I thought it sounded unique. Before I play the final beat, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, since I'll be releasing way more content just like this. I hope you all learned something today. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.